Here's a couple things. The reality is that what I learned for me in this is there is absolutely zero way, no way I could have obtained the deep level of value I received without spending the time going through these challenges in the classroom and in front of a whiteboard with the instructor. This is, very different or unlike most firearms courses I've been to where 95% of the learning, so to speak, is happening from the firing line. There's usually, an intro. We talk about what we're going to be doing for the day, and then we're kind of just out there and we're starting to shoot, and that's where the teaching happens. And my take on this is that this information, that I was learning, it can't be covered any other way. It just can't. And Joe is, I talked to you guys about my YouTube experience, my Instagram experience, and all that, trying to pull things together. Joe was very good about asking every participant how he could alter this particular portion of the course, so that it might not be, I guess, so classroom heavy. But and this was at the conclusion of each day and each course for that matter. To a person, everyone agreed. It was handled in the best way it possible, and given the context of what needed to be taught in the classroom in order to achieve what we did out on the range and ultimately achieved out on the range, it couldn't have been done in a different way. So, and I want to add, this includes individuals with way more practice and with the subject matter and the application of the skills. They were agreed. They learned a ton. For some, it was a little bit of a refresher, but there was nuance and gaps that were being filled. And each person shared their feedback on how and where it was the most impactful for them and where it might be improved. So again, Joe is very much about like, hey, I know this is classroom time. We're sitting in chairs and you're having to listen to me talk and whatnot, but everybody is at the end of the day just going, well, it was definitely worth it because we learned so much. So just something to keep in mind if you're going to one of these things. So I spent a ton of time, probably most time, reflecting on this portion and a good deal of this podcast talking about it because I truly believe the majority of the unconscious incompetence that exists for most students out there in the firearms world lies in this aforementioned sort of subject matter. In this particular case, if you don't gain a solid understanding of the science and the math, and you allow, let's just say, social media to influence your belief system about what is and what isn't possible on the range, you'll wind up in a comment section or on, let's just say, YouTube echo chamber that will give you a false or at least a very limited comprehension, and therefore very limited level of competence, conscious or not. So if you want to live and play and die in that world, be my guest. That's not me. I'll tell you straight up, this isn't the course or the class for you if that's you. Don't invest and don't waste your time. Go film some unoriginal, flashy shooting videos and contribute to the circus that already exists on the interwebs. That's my advice. So, did we actually do any shooting? Yup, we did. A shit ton of it, actually. And we started with where you might expect with a zeroing period. And as we got out there, it's included some skills on building shooting positions. So we were starting to get into, again, the things that are centered around longer distance shooting, things I hadn't had a lot of experience with. Breathing techniques were also included in. And then just some basics behind the gun as we were, again, building these foundational skills. And for those that had some experience, they were getting, again, the little bits and pieces, the little nuggets to help them be better at maybe what they had learned before and what they were already applying. We were all challenged at some level based on the principles of individuality, again, based on our knowledge, but also based on, hey, look, structure, size, the weapons platform you were using, maybe the optic that you were using. And so individuality, and it's this other concept of progression, like what is it going to take in order to move to the next level? What are the little things you can do if you are maybe a little bit more experienced or advanced? And for those of us that weren't, particularly me, what are the bigger rocks you can be moving right now? What are the major things that you should be working on and focusing on in order to have success here? For me, that part felt familiar, I guess, as a coach. This gets into, the difference between being a coach and being an instructor. And I have talked about this in the past in other formats, but what does this mean for me? So my take is this. Instructors deliver the information, they accomplish the goals within the information to be presented, and then they ultimately tick the boxes uh, within the training curriculum. They go down that outline, everything gets covered, it gets done in a timely fashion, all of that is good. However, coaches understand how to do all of this while, I would say, specifically reaching and impacting each individual, attempting to apply and execute the tasks and the requirements of the said curriculum. Um, the difference between the good ones and the not so good ones lies in the reps they've had over the years and the years of practical application of two things, both their craft and the coaching of that craft. Uh, Being able to read what a student, client, participant, whatever needs to hear or feel and see so that they really get what it is that you're trying to get across or what it is that they need in order to be better is what separates the pack. It separates the good coaches from the not so good coaches, and I think it draws a clear line between what a coach is and what an instructor is. Uh, I guess, barking from the back of the firing line to me isn't coaching. That's instructing. There's nothing wrong with that. I needed coaching in this instance. I didn't need to be barked at. Sometimes I feel like that might be appropriate depending on what you're doing in whatever situation. But addressing individuals as individuals while simultaneously finding ways to make those moments valuable for everyone involved in the coaching, that's coaching. And the dude is skilled. Joe does a really good job. He's talented and he's passionate about coaching. So he'll find a way for the lesson that he's teaching the one person who needs very specific instruction on this one particular thing to be valuable for everybody there. Again, that comes with reps, comes with a few other things too, which we'll talk about later. But like I said, I think the dude, for me, he had my attention and everybody else's. We were off to a very good start once we got to the range.